Yeah, I've always loved mixed media, and I've
Yeah.
always been, like, trying to figure out, like, how much I can fit on there to make it look like how it looks in my brain. I feel like I'm getting closer.
So how do you know when to like pivot from one type of media to another? Like how do you know where like, you need to go from colored pencil to marker and switch like to different spots of it? Like what really draws you in? I could see from like maybe the text being different from like the actual image, but like when you're deciding all that, when does it just a vibe or is it something that you're doing deliberately?
I think it's yeah, probably deliberately and a vibe as well. Deliberate vibes. It's kind of like I've been trying to work out the process for a while, but I really enjoy sketching with colored pencil.
Oh,
Um, so I'll do my really loose graphite sketch and then I'll just go over and sketch in colored pencil because I really like how it feels like the oily texture on the paper feels really good.
mm,
And then after that, I will block out some colors and marker, and the marker kind of like smears the colored pencil. So it it kind of takes it away so I can re-add colored pencil
yeah.
afterwards. And then I'll add like some shading with the watercolor because that water almost kind of locks in that alcohol of those
Mm.
markers. So I can just kind of like continually layer this as much as I want until I feel like it's finished.
Oh, cool. That's super
Yeah.
rad. I feel like I have an artist, China Rosemaria, and she's astonishing. We're working on a book together called Fake Your Death,
Mhm.
and she does a lot of traditional, pretty much purely traditional stuff. And she's very much like you in the sense of like a messy artist. Like she likes to get her hands dirty. She likes to
Mhm.
have all the tools and the trades and like everything out. And I feel like you just fall into that category of like that messy artist where you need all your supplies and you need to have like a fun time and get a little like messy while you're doing it. And like, is that like more appealing to you? Is that why you kind of do traditional versus digital at that point? You just like the fun of like having your toys out and playing with them all?
Yes, absolutely. And one of my friends recently posted on their Facebook that like he enjoys paper so much more than digital because of the texture.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. Like I like to like feel like my paper after I'm done with it. It feels so cool, like holding it up in the light and seeing like the indentions of like the colored pencil hit it is just so crazy and cool to me. And like it was so much fun to figure out how to add the acrylic onto like that cover page because it brings like a 3D to the page as well, which I think is so cool.
That
Um,
makes sense.
just yeah, like making these pieces and like being able to like just hold them and see them and show people in real life is awesome. I love doing gallery shows too. I have a few gallery shows coming up later this year too.
Oh, cool.
So it's always good to have pieces for that too.
Yeah. So you're very like versatile in what you're doing at that point. You're not just trying to be like a comic book artist. Comic books fall under a big piece of what you do and what you're passionate about. But you are indeed like, an artist where you're wanting to do stuff like storyboards and props and work on those things. But at the same time, you're doing gallery pieces and bigger stuff to kind of showcase your art and your skills. Like where do you find the balance between all of that, like the ones like how do you like figure out which one that you want to work on? How do you know which one that you want to kind of dive into more? Because like I think of it in like terms of a writer. As a writer I could either focus on comics, I could focus on prose, I could focus on like movie or TV scripts, and I kind of go towards one direction, or even journalism in a certain sense. But like I kind of lean towards like one thing to see like, okay, this is what's going to take me off and get me the most attention. How do you like find the love or the balance between them all to be like, this is the one I really want to cater more of my effort and energy towards?
Um, yeah, that's always been like a struggle to figure out, honestly. But I've definitely honed in the past like few years, and comics are what I do for fun, I think.
Oh, cool.
Um, and I try to dedicate as much of my time to them as possible because they're so much fun for me. Um, painting, painting is more of a hobby.
Hmm.
Um, when I have the extra time to do that, I will.
Hmm.
And I can practice painting with my comics. Although I do love doing like acrylic paintings and stuff like that too, but it's so rare that I ever get the chance to do that. And then storyboarding is how I kind of want to make my money. That's like my main career goal,
Oh, cool.
for my whole life, is to be able to do storyboards full time, so that I'm practicing drawing my comics while still getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
So I've been building up those clients for a long time, and it's kind of more difficult to get into that realm because I mostly do storyboarding for commercials, but I'm trying to get into film and television.
How do you find your gateway into that? Like, what led you to find even like, a path to get some of these offers and opportunities to do storyboards for commercials and such?
The first company that hired me a few years ago found me randomly on Instagram. I have no idea how else.
Oh, cool. Oh, right. So it's
Yeah.
just more of just like you're working on your stuff and you're getting discovered at that point. You're not really like seeking it at, when it started up, they came to you.
Yeah, because I still like cold called a lot of companies and producers and directors. And sometimes those people would get back to me, but most of the people that have hired me have found me randomly or by word of mouth.
Oh,
Um, yeah, that's pretty much how most people have found me to do storyboards, because I still send my portfolio out to all these different companies and agencies and stuff, but none of
Killer
them have been.
portfolio, right? By the way, great website. I really love
Thank
looking through
you.
your website. Very well organized. Like, so much clarity behind it. So I feel like you should be getting more work because of how well your site looks overall.
Thank you. I want to redo it soon, so that makes me feel good. um, but yeah, like I'm hoping to do storyboards for film and television soon. I almost got this like big gig um, for this TV show for Blumhouse,
Oh, wow.
like so close. They ended up going with someone else who was like just someone that's been doing it, being in the biz for like a lot longer than I have. But it feels good to just get that close to what I want, because I know that whatever that is like right around the corner.
Yeah, especially with the advancements you're making right now. And even just like, it's kind of like when you're getting a job or you're job hunting and you got selected for an interview, but like you didn't get selected, but you went real far. You're like, at least I know I could get that far. I just need
Yeah.
to like work a little bit more to break that last like door open and get through it.
Yeah. And like just to say to that too, like I have had, I think like 3 or 4 tests with Floyd County to do storyboards for them, for Archer and Hit Monkey. But just having that experience with doing those tests, I realized that I want to do live action storyboards.
Oh, why? What's the difference between like for especially for those who don't know and are listening and are interested in that? Like, what is the
Yeah.
key differences between those two?
Um, Really, I think it's the software,
Oh,
and
rad. Okay.
working in a house style, or having to work in someone else's style versus my
Mm,
own, because I I don't really like using Toon Boom or animating in general.
mhm.
I have animated before, and I think it's again with just like that fun aspect. I don't have fun working in someone else's style. I don't have
Oh,
any
cool.
problem drawing someone else's characters, or do doing what they want me to do in that regard. But yeah, I don't want to work in a house style. I don't want to have to be locked into like this certain software. I want to be drawing and working or in my style, because people want my style.
Mhm. And you're starting to become very defined by that too at this point. I mean, I could look at one of your covers and be like, I could tell that that's your work, just kind of browsing through them. They do have a similar vibe, a similar taste. And I think that's what's so eye catching about it too. It doesn't look like, you could definitely see growth within your work, but you could see growth within your own realm and you're just seeing improvements upon your work rather than you like switching, diverse styles all over the place. And I think that's really cool of you as well, is that you're kind of like sticking to your guns and not like really conforming to a lot of things that, a lot of artists, kind of conform to, especially when they start leaning towards their inspirations and whatnot.
Unveils your